Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Thom of Dragonmount. So I'm going to give you my 5 hot takes from episode 3 of Amazon Prime's Wheel of Time television show titled A Place of Safety. So my first hot take here is strange because it's going to start in episode 2. And that's because that's when we see Nynaeve right at the end, which then leads into the beginning of this episode, showing us how much of a badass Nynaeve really is. Now, in the end of that episode, she sneaks up on Lan and has the knife on his throat. You know, so she snuck up on Lan, and that's just amazing. Like, that's, I mean, like, anyone who knows who Lan is, and like, even if you don't, like, people who have been watching the show now, who have never read the books, at this point can see that Lana's pretty amazing warrior, fighter, tracker. There's the scene in episode 2 where he's kind of just like standing in the background as everyone's leaving, where you thought he left like 10 minutes ago. So it's like, you know, he's a sneaky guy. Like, he's a warder, you know, he's a fighter, he's pretty good at what he does, and she sneaks up on him. So immediately, Nynaeve's a badass. Then now back to episode 3, where I'm supposed to be, we have what happened to her. Taken by the Trolloc, escaping, killing the Trolloc, fighting it, like, amazing. Just really good. And not even using the one power. None of it. I mean, maybe, you know, there was hints there that she could have been channeling, but, like, she didn't use weaves to kill the Trolloc. She killed the Trolloc with her bare hands, and, oh man, just wonderful. She's so much of a badass that Lan, the warder, has to tie her up to keep control of her while he takes Moiraine, and that's just hilarious. Now, yeah, probably she's being loud and, you know, Trollocs are chasing them, so he doesn't want to, you know, alert them, but still, like, he felt the need to tie her to a tree because he couldn't control her elsewise, and that's really speaking to how much of a badass she is. Now, not only is she a badass, like, she's an amazing fighter, tracker, she's stealthy, she's got enough, you know, gumption to, like, stand up to Lan, but also, lest we forget, she's like a genius when it comes to herbs, which is showcased in the next scene, where she makes a poultice to help, you know, get Moiraine through the next few hours to get her to safety, hopefully. Now, the next one is, it happens sequentially, but it also, I'm piecing it together through the rest of the episode, and that's Perrin and Egwene and then the wolves. Now, yes, they go see the Tinkers. I'm not going to get into them right now, but they were also very well done. A little less flamboyant than I would have liked. Like, they were more, I don't know, like, welcoming and jolly and colorful. And I had a different view of them in my mind's eye than we got in the show. Now, that doesn't mean what we got was bad. It's just not what I was expecting. But anyway, I digress. Back to Perrin and the wolves. So the wolves here, we obviously know Elias. So, you know, that's a little weird. It's also kind of sad because I like that character, but not needed. 100% I understand. Like, if you need to cut something, this is something that you can cut and still fulfill the things that he did in other ways. So the way we're doing that now is the wolves are kind of protecting Perrin and Egwene. They know that the Trollocs are out there. They can smell them. They can probably sense them. We know they could do that from the books. We don't know for sure that they can do that in the show yet. It really seems like they can. So they take this kind of protective stance over Perrin. Now, we already got that with them, like, licking his wound in prior scenes. And now they kind of are herding them toward more people, toward more two-legs, as they call them in the books. Now, do they already sense in Perrin this ability that may be manifesting? We don't know, but they do seem to have a kinship with Perrin. So now they take this opportunity to kind of protect them by directing them probably directly away from the Trollocs. They don't know where Perrin and Egwene want to go. They just want to get them away from the Trollocs, which they do successfully. Perrin and Egwene do not run into any more Trollocs, so the wolves do a great job of protecting Egwene and Perrin and getting them away from the Shadow Spawn. And getting them to the Tinkers, or the Tuatha An. So all in all, I really enjoy how the wolves are being depicted so far. They look fluffy and like they're the goodest little pups ever, and I want to pet them, and I love them, and I want to squish them. I mean, dying from the mauling that I would probably get from doing that would be worth it, to be perfectly honest with you. So my next hot take has to do with Matt and Thom. So I know, Thom, me, yes. I mean Thom Merrilin in the show. So Matt and Thom have a more closer relationship in this show than they did in the books. The relationship that Thom seems to have, where he kind of sees in Rand his nephew Owen, who could channel and was killed by the Aes Sedai. In the show, he ascribes that same relationship with Matt. Now, the show is probably doing this so that we don't know who the dragon is. You know, they're giving little tidbits to all of them. It could be Perrin. He's got this weird ability with wolves. It could be Rand because he's, you know, like standing up to the Aes Sedai. He's the perfect age. He seems like, you know, he's an outsider. But Matt is displaying these like channeling sicknesses. What's that about? Egwene is a powerful channeler. She's also the perfect age. And Nynaeve is displaying this power level like of teen. She's from outside the Two Rivers. She's around the same age. You know, like as the viewer, we don't know who the dragon is. As book readers, we have an idea, but we don't know for sure either. But back to Thom and Matt. So Thom and Matt's relationship here is kind of like fatherly almost, which Matt is lacking, which is kind of probably why Matt latches onto him. So he respects Thom because Thom was able to pick his pocket, and like he seems swarthy and he could sing and he seems, you know, he's young-ish. So he kind of, you know, Matt can kind of see himself in him. And in the same time, Thom probably sees himself in Matt and also sees his nephew in him and wants to protect him. He teaches him a valuable lesson about stealing from the dead, because Matt goes to steal from the dead Aiel they see in a cage, but also how to respect the dead. They bury the Aiel. And that's an important lesson for Matt to learn there. And it seems like you could really see that Thom is taking like a protective stance over Matt, starting here. But then it culminates with him killing the dark friend female innkeeper of the inn that they were staying at. She's threatening them with Tam's sword. She corners Matt and Thom, and she gives them this whole spiel, which I'll get to in a second. And Thom sneaks up behind her and kills her. So now that leads me into my next hot take, and that would be how they're portraying the Dark One and the Dark Friends so far. So now I'll go back to the innkeeper again. She has now told Matt and Rand that she's alerted a Myrddraal to their presence, and it's on the way. They haven't said Myrddraal yet. They've been describing them as Fades, but that's you know, the other word for it in the books. Now the monologue she gives just before this is very different from the way we see Dark Friends depicted in the books. Now in the books, they're much more self-serving. Like they're much more selfish. Like most of the Dark Friends become Dark Friends because they want power. They want to live forever. They want to kill people they don't like, you know, whatever. I'm sure those people exist in this one too, but the first instance we get to meet a Dark Friend who gives an exposition on why she's a Dark Friend is because she's tired of the evil in the world. She's tired of people, you know, doing horrible things, and she just wants it to end. And that is a very relatable type of despair, you know, in a Dark Friend that you don't really get in the books. Like most of the Dark Friends are just, you know, the cookie cutter, generic, evil because I want power and because I want to kill people type people. But in this Dark Friend, we get this almost altruistic, albeit misguided, need to try to help by ending the world. You know, not a good idea, but it's there, you know, there it is. So to me, that was interesting. Where in the books, that type of mentality only really comes from Ishmael. He's the only Forsaken that really understands what it would mean for the Dark One to win, and that is nothing. Like if you break the wheel of time, you break time, you break existence.
So there would be nothing.
Or again, that's my opinion. It's not generally known that that's what it would be, but that's the strong implications that we get. So from this Dark Friend, it's a much deeper understanding than we got from prior early Dark Friends in the books. And I like that. Now, speaking of this Dark Friend in particular, and Matt and Rand, they are staying at this inn. Now, there's a scene earlier on before she tries to kill them where she asks Rand if Matt and he are in a relationship together. And I really like the way that Rafe and Amazon are handling sexuality in the Wheel of Time here. So far, we've seen a couple of instances where they talk about, you know, possible same-sex relationships or even open relationships, you know, almost a little bit the way they depict some of the Two Rivers goings-ons. Rand doesn't like immediately butch up and say, I'm not going to be with a man. Like, he's just like, no, we're not together. We're just really good friends. And he and Keeper's like, well, you seem like a married couple. And that's it. Like, there's no negative connotation on it. It's just, she's asking a genuine question, and she's not asking it like it's a weird thing. She's just asking it as if like, hey, I want to know the answer to this. And I like that. We don't have a lot of on-screen romance. It is a PG-13 rating, but it is heavily implied. So there's a couple of scenes where it gets more intimate, but for the most part, you get what you got from the show, where it's like they're about to have sex, it fades to black, or the scene cuts to go to another scene, and then the next time we see them, it's either just afterwards or whatever. And, there's no reference to it. It's just, that that's probably what happened, and, it's part of life, which is great. They're really making sex more of a normal thing in the world, and not, prudish, standoffish, the way a lot of American entertainment has done in the past. And I like the way they're depicting it here. Now, those are my 5 hot takes for episode 3 of The Wheel of Time. Make sure to check out all the other episodes on Amazon Prime Video, and all our episodes on all of our Dragonmount social medias. I'll see you next time.
And that's our show. Thank you so much for watching the video all the way to the end. And as always, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, leave us a positive comment, and if you have any friends that you know of that love the Wheel of Time, send them our way. Send them some of our links. Let's get all of this together, all this Wheel of Timiness. Also, thank you so much to our sponsor, Tor, as well as our Patreon community. If you are wanting to know more about how this show is made, or some more insights into the Wheel of Time, join us on Patreon. Also, find us on Dragonmount for social media. And until next time, my name is Kitty. This is the Wheel of Time Community Show. Goodbye.